here. This is the Unmasked Agenda here on Rainier Avenue Radio. I am your friendly neighborhood agitator, Clifford Cawthon, or as y'all call me, Cliff. And I am happy, honored, and just elated to be here with my friend, a community leader, and just a badass, can you say it? Activist, a bad behind. There you go, bad behind activist, Miss Shemona Moreno. It's good to see you, fam.
Good to see you too.
Anyway, well, thank you for coming, and also, well, you're here to talk about May Day because you are one of the leaders on Seattle's May Day committee, in addition to the executive director of 350 Seattle.
Yes, I am.
So, in that case, why don't we just start there? So, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and whatever you'd like to share?
Yeah. Like you said, Shemona Moreno, 350 Seattle Executive Director. I've been in that role for about 3 years, but my climate activism journey started back in 2016. I mostly got involved around like mutual aid neighborhood action or organizing, and which led into meeting some folks from 350 Seattle. And so I started off as a volunteer at 350 Seattle, and because of the way that we organize and the way that we create opportunities for just like regular folks to come in and like, you know, become leaderful, I was able to, you know, get really involved. And then 2 years later, I joined the staff in, 2018. I was doing a lot of artful activism, volunteer engagement, like, you know,
you're giving us help when we needed it.
Yeah. And so I'm just like, wait, what? I can be paid to do, you know, like do art and like rabble rouse. Yes, let's do it. Because I have bills, and I also care about the environment, and I also care about our community. So I love to combine all of that.
Right. Like, you know, I always like consider it a blessing when you can do what you love and also you can help people at the same time.
Yeah.
And also at that time, being able to do artful activism and that, you know, it's funny, like as you're talking, I was thinking, it was like, okay, first Trump administration, and you're like really building the resistance. And it feels like you are in the midst of your own version of Rogue One. Yeah. Right, like that story that's canonical, like right parallel to the you know, all the other stuff happening, and it's actually like the better story, right?
Yeah, true organizing story. Right. Like a friend got me involved. They're like, "Hey, let's go to this thing," and I'm like, "Yeah, that sounds good." And then I was just like, "What?" I am inspired seeing a bunch of rad people, rad organizers, and also just other people who are still on a learning journey about like just getting involved, like. There was like a bunch of people who were at the same volunteer like member meeting, and they're, you know, leaders at organizations like Amazon Employees for Climate Justice. Right. You know, I met a bunch of folks from like Puget Sound Sage and a bunch of other like local organizations, and it kind of like opened my eyes to the activist scene, the community organizing in our city, and just like I've been hooked ever since.
Nice.
And been doing it through 350.
Nice. Well, you know, you what was it? Well, I also did some research. No, I'm not, but you know, I know you were on the board. You were a worker leader at REI, and you didn't get on the board of like REI Co-op.
No. Well, okay. So what happened? What happened was I tried to get on the board of the REI Co-op because they say they're a co-op.
Right.
Say as long as you spent money that year and you fill out the application, anybody can apply to the board. I think they've since changed that rule because they're in the midst of like some pretty nefarious, like not good worker rights. And so REI needs to do better and come to the bargaining table, REI, give the workers a fair contract.
Yeah, you hear that, folks? Or all the folks that are like, oh, we believe in this house, et cetera, and go to REI. Yeah, might want to, you know, send some letters, send some emails.
Yep. Yeah, they need the support. So I tried, and they denied. They said they never got my application.
Oh, that's so weird.
And I have, you know, evidence that I submitted my application on time, followed up several times, and I never heard back from REI. And so not only are they like treating their workers like crap, they're also liars.
yeah, well, of course. You know, like, oh my goodness, the amount of hypocrisy in a lot of these organizations is just, it's kind of amazing, really. But Also, I can't believe I forgot to mention, also your fellow WFP comrade, part of the MLK County Committee, and so just taking over,
Yes.
So speaking of that, like, let's talk about like 350 Seattle's mission, how it's evolved over time, because you mentioned your activist journey and others, and one of the things that I know I really have observed from 350, like you were saying, that you guys give people the opportunity to really lead in the organization. So how does that work? And how's 350 how has its mission expanded?
Yeah, so our mission, is kind of like hasn't changed. It stayed the same, but it is allowed us to be flexible, to just like really dig into the intersectionality approach of just like climate justice and racial justice, worker justice, and all the justice movements, which makes it possible for us to kind of just welcome a large amount of people into the space and kind of like, draw the connections between climate and housing, climate and transportation, climate and defunding the police, climate and, workers' rights and immigration justice. And so what we do in that is that we try as much as we can to just like skill people up, support them in kind of like being like making connections between the different justice issues and just like taking action and that's kind of like where we thrive. Like we want people to show up, feel like they're empowered and that they have a purpose. And that there is actual tangible things that we can do. Because I think you go to a lot of organizations, they're like, sign this petition, that's the end of the thing. They're like, no, actually you can train up. We can, like right now we're in the middle of our membership drive. But we want to make sure that we're learning alongside that. So like learn how to phone bank. Why do we phone bank? Why does deep relationship building matter in like community organizing? Why does it matter that we do grassroots organizing? What's the difference between mobilizing and organizing? We do everything that we do is from like a learning curiosity perspective. And so like by doing that, we're skilling up people to like take on work in 350 Seattle or outside of 350 Seattle. We've had a lot of like interns and volunteers go on and level up and be move on to other organizations, both here in Washington or across the country. Because that's what we want to do. We don't want to gatekeep information. We want to open the door and make sure everyone can feel like they can learn what they need to learn and apply it in their community.
Right. Each one teach one, right?
Yeah.
So, it occurs to me, well, I have one thought actually following up from that, and then I want to dive into May Day, because it occurs to me, I didn't even tell you guys what May Day is. Like some of you guys might think, am I saying like May Day as in like May Day, like what exactly do we mean, right? So we'll get to that in a sec, but one of the so for 350, like early on, I was acquainted with 350 as an environmental organization. And, I can definitely see how these things intersect, but I'm curious how you talk to folks who are, I don't know, maybe this is from a couple of experiences I've had, doing environmental work, where they are like, oh, my issue is, salmon habitats, right? Or my issue is clean water, and I'm not interested in, I think we need more police and to keep our water clean, right? Feel free to take that breath, because you know exactly the kind of conversations I'm talking about. So how do you approach those, approach those things from the perspective of intersectionality?
Yeah, I think that's where we thrive, of just like being able to have an honest conversation of like, I see you care a lot about this issue. I would like to and that. Yes, and here's how it connects.
Done improv too.
Yeah. Yes.
Woo!
Yes.
And we build the rock.
Yeah, we do, because it's like, and then we have to remind people like, you're not a single issue person. There's a lot of things that make up you. There's a lot of things that make up our community, and there's a lot of things that kind of like overlap and or diverge, and we have to make sure we recognize that whole picture. And so we also have to recognize that we're not going to be able to fight our fights alone. Like, you can't only just do this by yourself, caring about this one thing. We have to find a way to find common ground and fight our fight together, be in lockstep, because that's how, we're going to be able to achieve a lot more. Because that's the power that we need to build, because like, we ain't got billions of dollars.
Yeah. No, I know that. Yeah.
But we do have each other.
Yes, that is true. That is true. We do have each other. We have each other. And, I have a plan to just fake my death. So, like, then they can't collect my student loans anymore, right? And be like, oh, Cliff is dead? Oh, no. Oh, my God. And it's like Xavier's Politics in the morning.
Yeah.
That'll be the new show on Radioactive Radio. There you go. Politics in the afternoon with Xavier something. Like, whoever.
We got to be scrappy.
Yeah, exactly. Just like something I learned growing up in Buffalo, right? When you get knocked down, you get back up, you dust yourself off, keep moving.
Yeah.
Yep.
You dust yourself off, but also like we have to make sure that there's someone there to like help you up.
Exactly.
So you're not doing it alone.
And like you said, we don't exist in isolation from one another, right?
Yeah.
So actually, that is a great and beautiful springboard into talking about International Workers' Day or May Day. Well, would you like to do the honors or?
Nope.
Okay. Well, so International Workers' Day is tomorrow, and I believe it was the Haymarket Square Massacre in Chicago in 1886?
I don't know.
I know. I gotta look. It was in the late 1800s. Workers at the time, not just in the United States, but really across the world, and not just Europe and North America either. We saw it in anti-colonial resistance in Southeast Asia and in colonized spaces in Africa, and also there had been a whole history of worker struggle in Latin America. And with the Haymarket Square massacre, in which the police and anti-worker forces decimated workers standing up for fair working conditions and to be recognized in their workplaces, that massacre in Chicago reverberated across the world, where people like designated May 1st as a day of international worker solidarity. This year, people are they're saying, hey, we see that that democracy in the United States is slipping, that wealth gaps across the world are getting further and further apart, the wealth gap is increasing, and our planet, talking about being scrappy, Mother Earth is fighting, and unfortunately, the country we live in, and through no faults of our own, might not necessarily be on the right side of history in terms of where our priorities are, as you can articulate much better than I can. Tomorrow is a day not just for worker and immigrant solidarity, because in the last 20 years, that the message has expanded into solidarity with workers and immigrants, all of us as working class people across borders, across identities, standing in solidarity together, demanding more, demanding a better world, and coming together in order to voice how we see that, right?
Right. Yeah.
So with that explanation, you are one of the leaders planning our May Day March in action tomorrow, and it looks like it's going to be one of the biggest in recent history. Do you want to explain a bit more significance and what you're expecting and feeling?
Yeah. So this is I think this year, we show out for May Day every year in Seattle, which is something I'm really proud of. So shout out to Seattle for showing up for their workers and the immigrants and migrants. This year is special because I think there's 40 plus community organizations, both nonprofit, grassroots, political parties, unions that are part of just even planning this event,
right?
Which is amazing. And also just holy cow, how have 40 plus people coming together to plan an event? It's been like a roller coaster of emotions and just like excitement to get the tomorrow ready for everyone. So that's something I think is really special to lift up, of just like how many people, how many groups, unions are involved in just planning this process, and so many more that are supportive and sponsoring and endorsing the May Day tomorrow. And I think this is also like Seattle is not alone. I think it's because of what's been happening across the country, specifically in like California, Minnesota, and Chicago with like ICE presence. We are kind of like answering the call for like the May Day Strong, national call of just like where they're like demanding no school, no work,
no buying,
no shopping.
Yeah, no shopping, yeah.
And so like we are one amongst many across the country, and even probably the world, of folks just like showing up to be like, we are not okay with the business as usual, because they're literally killing us.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think that is kind of the dark and dystopian reality of it. Like, we are literally being killed by corporate greed.
We are, yeah.
Yeah.
And so the demands that we kind of came up with as a collective of these organizations, unions, kind of fall into these like 3 buckets. So, and forgive me for reading it. I'm not a great memorizer.
It's okay. I'm reading off something, so yeah, it's like fine.
Community, not ICE.
Nice.
Workers, not billionaires.
Dang right.
And services, not war.
Nice.
This is definitely really speaking to like what's happening both here locally all the way up to internationally, of just like, and how they all intersect. Like we have a lot, like we have this, it's the same villains. We all are fighting the same villains, like the kind of like from a climate perspective, from 350 Seattle, like we're in the midst of like building a campaign where we're trying to make polluters pay, and they're making record profits from war.
Yeah.
They use those profits to buy presidents, and those presidents then pass down, like many of the ICE coming into our communities, walking back all kinds of like, not only climate work, but workers' rights,
right?
It's across the board of different issues. And so tomorrow is a day where it's for workers' rights, immigrants' rights, but like we all have a stake in that.
I mean, wouldn't it be beautiful if a bunch of people that worked for, in a certain facility that is about 40 minutes south of here, were just be like, I'm sick, y'all. Can't operate the drone today. Can't. I don't know who's gonna operate like long distance, like satellite, surveillance operations. Just like right?
You gotta take your health seriously. If you're feeling sick at all, you shouldn't go to work.
Right, exactly. Like, how are you going to try to like conquer the world if you're not taking your health seriously? Come on, Army. Come on. What was it? Joint task force. You got those sick days. Use them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
Unions fought hard for us to have those sick days.
Just saying. And what you're saying is absolutely so true. Like right now, I think one of the interesting things that I've observed are so many people, because of rising gas prices, are starting to realize like, oh, U.S. foreign policy and what we're doing across the world is like, this hits me at home.
Yeah.
Because I remember what really radicalized me was the war on terror, in addition to, seeing all of the wealth maldistribution in Buffalo, New York, where I grew up. And, we would talk about how the war comes home in various ways, with veterans experiencing PTSD, with the lack of investment in communities like Buffalo, and so on and so forth. But when you're in it and when it's become normalized, you just don't really connect those dots.
Yeah.
But now we're seeing $7 a gallon, gas prices, in some places close to 10.
Yeah.
Now people are thinking, oh, wow, maybe U.S. foreign policy taken to extremes, not a good thing.
Yeah, it's almost like they don't have our best interests in mind, like the working class, the people who keep our society running.
What are you talking about? Everything's so great. I'm so sick of winning. I've won so much. So amazing. I literally saw an older gentleman. It was an older brother. He had a gold, like, Make America Great Again hat on. And I know, I was just like, come on, dude. Like, surely you know at this point, right? Like, you know at this point, like, they ain't for you. Yeah. Like, they don't care.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, there's nothing great about what's happening. Like the rising costs of just, it's not even just gas. It's like the rise in our utility bills, the rise in our groceries.
Right.
Like our groceries are going up, and even amongst us, corporations are closing down stores left and right because they don't want to be held accountable for taxes and being a part of the community, even though they need this community to keep their businesses running. I think what is great about that?
But it's that chase of profit. In fact, one of the interesting things, and I'm curious about your thoughts on this, is for a lot of people, I think not just the scenes out of Minnesota, but also with how ICE has normalized it, or the administration has tried to normalize ICE kidnapping people, and more stories of citizens, right, of naturalized citizens, of people who are born here, simply being terrorized because of the color of their skin.
Yeah.
Do you think like more and more people are starting to really connect like the rights and struggles of immigrant communities with the undermining of civil rights?
I think so. It's not happening as fast as I would hope
it
would, but I do think they are, because I think people are starting to wake up, and usually they wake up when it's like impacts them personally. That's how a lot of things, especially from like a climate perspective, most people don't care until they're like, oh fuck, it's hot. And oops, sorry for swearing.
Don't worry, I'll probably just get like a very terse text message from our station's director, be like, Cliff.
Sorry.
No, it's okay. It's okay. She's nice. Like, don't freak out, Tony. It's all right. Anyway, go ahead.
But I do think, we are kind of slowly but surely reaching that awareness, and that like, wait, this isn't right. Like, this isn't how we treat people. This isn't how we're going to make anything great, or sustainable. Like it doesn't even make sense of like getting rid of people. And even if you were thinking just from a humane, compassionate angle, it also doesn't make an economic sense,
Right. If you're like, oh, I don't really care about fellow human beings being snatched up and terrorized and sent off to gulags. Yeah, we need those folks to staff our stores.
Yes.
To like pick fruit, to like run services.
Yes.
Even right now, the construction industry is basically in a labor crunch right now, right? Because they don't have people to do the labor.
Yeah. And also just like, the services that we need in part of our, like our roads, schools, things like that relies on taxes. And immigrants and migrants pay taxes too.
And they don't benefit from the services.
And they don't benefit from the services. Yep. And yet how are we expecting, and I, as, a stickler for around this, of just like, there's a certain degree where like we all kind of have to pitch in order for this to work, and like if we're getting rid of people, it's going to fall apart.
Absolutely. So before we go on, I just want to let folks know, because we're at time. If you're just tuning in, you're listening to this and you love what you hear, you are listening to the Unmasked Agenda here on Rainier Avenue Radio. And I am happy to be talking with my friend Shemona Moreno. And also, we are about to go to break. But if you have a few extra bucks, donate to us over Venmo. You can look us up at Rainier Avenue Radio or online at rainieravenuradio.world/donate. And I will be right back with the amazing Shemona Moreno.
Hey.
You're listening to RainierAvenueRadio.world. Check us out on social media, Facebook and Instagram, RainierAvenueRadio.world, and on Twitter at RainierAvRadio.
Love food? Here's some storage tips to keep it fresh longer. Store cut fruits and vegetables in the fridge. Place in reusable containers. Keep bread in the freezer for longer storage. 40% of food in the U.S. goes uneaten. Save money, save food, save the planet. Visit Seattle Public Utilities for more tips.
My name is BK, International Talent Scout. I'm bringing a brand new show to you called BK Presents. 30 minutes, non-stop, your favorite in gospel music. The studio session, going deep into interviews with your favorite artists, producers, and their engineers. You and your concert previews and concert reviews. Get it all on bkpresents.com. Here we go.
Mga kaibigan, ito po si Kuya Bert Kawili.
And this is Miles Salvador from Australia.
And I'm Norb Kawili, also known as Norbcam.
Kung gusto niyo po ang latest news and events from the Philippines at yung local Filipino community, Phil Radio po.
We play Filipino music and interview guests from all around the world.
And I'll keep you updated on the latest Seahawks and sports news.
Kaya always tune in, Phil Radio, every Tuesday, 1 to 2:30 p.m. Pacific Time on RainierAvenueRadio.world.
And in YouTube and Facebook. Salamat po.
Turn up your radio wherever you at. We about to bring it.
Street Beat with Tony B.
Tony B will give you a chance to tackle local, national, and international issues that affect your community.
Street Beat. Street Beat. Who, Tony?
Buying a home isn't just a purchase, it's a legacy move. Maybe you're just starting your home ownership journey, or maybe you're a homeowner who's fallen behind on your mortgage, property taxes, or HOA dues. Wherever you are on your path, Washington Home Ownership Resource Center connects you to trusted guidance every step of the way. Vetted resources, trusted referrals, real support. If homeownership is your goal, or you're trying to protect the home you already have, don't face it alone. Visit homeownership-wa.org or call the Homeownership Hotline at 877-894-4663 today. The Washington Home Ownership Resource Center, educating and empowering future and current homeowners in Washington State.
Ladies and gentlemen, are you ready for this? This is RainierAvenueRadio.world, the station that cares about our community.
Right here. Yeah.
Hello, friends. You are listening to the Unmasked Agenda here on Rainier Avenue Radio, and I'm your friendly neighborhood agitator, Cliff, and I'm here with Shemona Moreno, Executive Director of 350.org and 350.org Seattle. I remember back in the day it was just like 350.org. Right?
Yeah.
And also a leader in the Mayday Coalition, and also one of my besties from the MLK Working Families Party Committee. Just throw that in, a little shout out to our friends out there. And so tomorrow is May Day. It's going to be this big rally. But as you know, there's always a question like, okay, how are we going to move this work forward? What's the next action that's really a tactic, in a greater strategy? So what do you hope the impact is to kind of move the greater strategy forward from tomorrow?
I mean, the hope is always, and this is like the organizing word is absorption. Absorption. A lot of these groups are looking for, we're building our bases, we're building our community, because we need people to come and to take the actions beyond just marching and rallying. It's important. It's important for us to show out and demonstrate the amount of people that care about something, but then it's important to actually show up to the next thing. It's important for us to pay attention to what's going on in not nationally, but also locally. I think it really matters locally what's going on, because Seattle can be a leader. Seattle can be a leader in just workers' rights, climate justice, any kind of justice movement. And there's a lot of stuff happening in Seattle and in, like, you know, across Washington.
For sure.
Yeah. And so, like, my hopes for absorption is that people plug in to a local organization or a state one, and find a way to take at least one or two actions. You know, even if that means just like from home, you're signing a petition, you're liking you know, social media posts and things like that. But then maybe taking it a step more. Maybe you're showing up for a training. Maybe you're looking for ways that you can get involved in your community. Mutual aid is needed because we need to stop relying on these corporations to like get a clue and take care of the actual community. They're not going to do that.
Of course not.
We have to rely on each other to build that. And we are the ones that are going to have to build the just, sustainable, you know, future that we need. So show up for May Day, make a new friend, find an organization to support, and take action with that organization. Because there's going to be a bunch of different orgs and unions. Like, if you're not plugged into your union, you should.
Or unionize.
Yeah. There's definitely people there that'll help you do that.
You know, like, I remember early on in my career, I was working as a union salt back in Buffalo at if any of my old friends are watching, they'll probably giggle because they're like, we knew it. I was working at Price Right, you know, as like an overnight stock person. And, you know, it was like unionizing undercover. And I was, you know, having the hardest time getting these guys to sign cards because, you know, when you work the night shift, you're burnt out. You just want to go home, sleep, get ready for the next shift. You know, your body's absolutely broken. And basically, one of my friends, Sergio, he was, you know, he's always kind of like a mentor to me, kind of like well, I hate to make this comparison because I certainly hope I'm not on the dark path to the dark side, but he was like the Obi-Wan to my Anakin, a la episode 2. We're not going to episode 3 territory. That got dark. Yeah, don't worry, younglings, you're safe. But you know, he told me, it's like, look, when you get folks to sign a card, or when you're asking someone, there's one of two things that's going to happen. One, they sign the card, we have the election, and we can bargain for higher wages, and their life changes for better. Or two, they don't sign, everything stays the same, and things get worse.
Yeah.
There's no other possibilities. It's just one of those two things. And I think for, you know, what you were saying, it really resonates with me because it reminds me of how for a lot of those folks, when you put it like that, that it really energizes them. It's like, oh, wow, okay. Never really thought of how things are as not being optimal, right?
Right.
We can make things better. And, you know, and absorption is a great key word because I don't know if you noticed this, but do you remember the Neighborhood Action Coalition?
Yeah, that's what where I got my start.
I thought that's what you were referencing because I remember that. And we when we organized that, Kaya, Jimena, myself, Monica, and a whole bunch of other folks, you know, there's like so many folks came out.
Yeah.
And, you know, so many folks like yourself got their start.
Yep.
Were absorbed.
Yep.
You know?
Yeah.
So who knows? Maybe it might happen tomorrow. And
it's not like you can jump in 2 feet with your 2 feet and just be like, I'm going to say yes to everything and do all the things. You don't have to do that.
Right.
Sometimes it is small, sweet actions that you take one right after the other that lead you down a path that, like, you look up and you're like, I am changing my community for the good, and people are coming along with me.
Yeah, even if it's something small, just like going with someone to knock a door and inform someone, or something as, you know, seemingly small but actually really impactful is like going with your colleague, you know, to stand up to the boss when they think they've been, you know, treated unfairly.
Yep.
It's huge, you know? So, you know, there is a call tomorrow not to go work, not to shop, not to, you know, not to go to school tomorrow. Do you think people heed that call? And I hate to sound going from optimistic to sound like was it pull devil's advocate, but one of the things that has popped up, I think, in this administration in particular, these grand calls online for general strike.
Yeah.
And usually there's like a no work, no school, no shopping, no shopping call, but it happens. So do you think like we're going to see that this time, or do you think there will be a bit of that and we, like the magnitude?
Yeah, I think we'll see a bit of it. Yeah, I think there are some people who won't be able to participate. You can't, it's not a general, you have to do all three.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like, at least pick one. Right. Like if you have to go to work tomorrow, then maybe you don't shop.
Yeah.
Like that's that you take a day off from shopping.
Easy enough.
Easy enough. Like if you can't go to
I got no money.
Yeah, right. Most of us are, we ain't got a dollar.
Yeah, I'm trying to manifest a dollar.
I know. So are we at 350.
Right. It's like got cauldron in my apartment. It's like, come on, get that rent money.
We can.
Yeah, right.
But I think picking one is, and if you can't do any of them, what is something else you can do? Like I know, and especially in the economy right now, there's a lot of insecurity. Like I don't want people to have to risk their livelihood. But like, what else can you do? Do you have friends that you can talk to? Do you have like stickers that you can hand out, like posters you can put in your window? Just talk about it with your coworkers and things like that. I think there are small, sweet ways that you can be involved with the no work, no school, and no shopping. And I think the more we say that we're with the current way that our society works, which is like, I think it's like back in the day during the civil rights, like general strikes, took years of planning.
Oh yeah, 5,000%.
Yeah, and I think
especially without the internet.
Yeah.
Snail mail. Oh my God.
Yeah, but with the way our society works now and the way information travels, I think how you build momentum is that you say it often, and each time you say it, and each time more people do it, and I think that's just how we're going to have to just keep doing it. We're going to have to keep calling for the general strike, the no school, no shopping, no work. And every time we get one more, two more, hundreds more people. And I think that's just how it works right now. And so I'm hopeful that it'll build. And also because I think it'll build because people are getting mad as... cuss word.
No, you can say hell. Like
that is hell.
Yeah, I was about to say hell's not curse. Hell's not curse word.
I don't know.
Yeah, hell's not curse word. Yeah. I was like, it's maybe some like more. Let's just say demure and maybe church going folks might think. I don't think so.
I apologize.
Yeah. No, you're all right. Yeah, I was about to say I've said much worse. If it is, then y'all are tuning in. Anyway, okay, so. Let me go to a little bit more of an optimistic posture now, because you brought up something very interesting. Like we have technology where something can be memeified overnight and go viral within an hour of it being posted online. And, you're saying like if we mention more and more and more, but what do you think are some of the barriers that keep, instead of, with that one more person joining us, that prevent the other 9 people, in their like friend group from, actually joining like that call for no work, no shopping, no school?
Yeah. What keep them from that? I mean, it's a narrative issue. I think we have to work on telling the story and like connecting it to not just like one specific type of person. We have to speak to everybody's lived experience and, the way they operate through the world. Like not everybody's in the same situation.
Right.
And not everybody is like, inspired by the same thing. Like what inspires me might not inspire you. And so like we have to expand how we're telling the story. And that's kind of like where we need to like rely on some old school wisdom. Like, how are we doing the storytelling, the slow, deep relationship building, and turn it into a meme that everyone will see.
Right. Exactly.
Like, calling out the things that like, oh, I never thought of that.
Right.
That can pull those other 9 people along with you. that speak to the thing that resonates with them. And that's like all about how we message, you know, the things that we're doing and come in with curiosity instead of like looking for a fight.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, it's interesting. So I'm a huge comic book nerd. I love like all of that. And one of the things that I remember seeing after after Superman came out, James Gunn's Superman, was the essentially like the, not necessarily meme, but this narrative like spreading like wildfire about how the film was really a statement about Palestine. Big part of the film, spoiler alert. Yeah, if you've not seen it now, I'm sorry. You've had a year. Like, I'm
Get
sorry.
it together.
Yeah, like, come on. Like, it's on well, I mean, you know, like, I have some feels about Warner Brothers these days, given who's acquiring them, but I digress, right? Yeah. So towards the end of the film, or like one of the through lines of the film, is you had a very impoverished country, very vaguely a facsimile of a very vaguely Middle Eastern country, Jaranpur, basically being taken over by a very, oddly enough, it was like very Balkan-esque, but like a pastiche of Israel, Moravia, invading Jaranpur and basically just rolling over these civilians, right? And just almost straight up ripped from the headlines. The imagery was absolutely spot on, and you had one of the big plot points was Superman basically came in, which is like, yeah, no, I'm going to save these civilians. No, you're not going to kill any civilians today, and just push the Moravians back. And it was like, you know, this isn't a political thing. It's just you're not gonna kill civilians. You know, you're not doing that today. And in the end of the film, you had the entire Justice Gang, or like I guess the proto Justice League, with Guy Gardner, the most obnoxious Green Lantern of them all. Not my favorite Green Lantern, but I love to Nathan Fillion. You're great, man. Ever since Firefly, appreciate you, bro. You know, and Hawk Girl and Metamorpho, which, you know, Anthony Carrigan killed absolutely nailed Metamorpho, and saved, you know, all of these civilians. And it was something that I feel like kind of really uplifted the narrative of Palestine in that moment. And I wonder, do you think like that kind of storytelling is something that movements need to embrace more, where we take a lot of these popular narrative stories and we retrofit them for the real life struggles that we see every day?
Yeah, I think so. I think there is a lot we can learn from that, because how is Superman stuck around all these years?
Right.
I also, no offense,
that's okay.
I also think that there are stories that we can tell that don't center on one single being coming to save us. Because it's not true.
Of course.
And I think what is the metaphor there for I'm
a team person. That's why I'm more Team Marvel. It's collective.
Yes.
The X-Men jump someone together. It's not one-on-one fights. No, they're like, we family. Like, they mess with you, the anti-mutant, they mess with all of us.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think I think the X-Men narrative kind of like speaks more to that, of just like, oh, it's like us against them.
Collective
liberation. And then also just like, but even getting past like the us against them, because like there isn't, I don't want it to be this thing like we have to, like where we have to violence upon violence upon violence. I am naive and wanting like, how can we struggle together and where no one is like harmed in some way. And I think those are the stories that we need to tell, of just like how we are courageous and are trying to understand.
Right. And I don't think that's naive at all, because certainly, better than I do, as well as I do. Wolfless are in policy spaces. At the end of the day, your greatest adversary could be your greatest advocate on, different issues, So I think struggling together, and how can we, create a revolution where at the end of the day, it's about benefiting everyone rather than one faction being able to overcome another and dominate another.
Yeah.
And
telling stories like that, because the more we tell it, the more we're just like, I can see myself in that.
Absolutely. So in that case, let's talk a little bit, and I know this might seem like we're taking a left turn at Albuquerque for a second, but one of the big issues that has come up recently that has a lot of intersections with workers' rights, the environment, with, the dystopian nature of the tech industry, are data centers here in Seattle.
Yeah.
So what are your thoughts? Is there ways people can plug in, or anyway, what are your thoughts on that?
My thoughts, 350 Seattle has definitely started to wade into the data center issue and fight. We are working in coalition with the Washington AI, Air, along with a bunch of other DSA and Stand and other organizations. We recently put out a petition asking y'all to send a letter to City Council and the mayor, and over 80,000 emails have been sent.
Oh yeah, I did that.
And they heard you because they're scrambling. The City Council and the mayor are scrambling to figure out oh shoot, what should we do? Should we put a moratorium on data centers? And I think, that's the solution. We also could ask for more. We could, this is a good bargaining chip because they're listening. And we can demand more of not just only our City Council and the mayor, we could demand more from our public utility of from the Seattle City Light, other utilities who have a stake in this claim, because if we smack it down in Seattle, they're just going to go somewhere else outside of Seattle. And that's not what I want. I don't want, for us to be okay in another community right outside of Seattle to suffer. How are we setting this up in an equitable way and truly mean it? I don't want this to be pitted, in against a rural community that has often forgotten and overlooked because Seattle's oh, we can't do that. I don't want that to be the conversation. I want what is the opportunity in Seattle that can benefit not just Seattle, but the rest, that can be a model and benefit the rest of the cities outside of Seattle.
It's a really good way to look at it, because one of the things that is very apparent to me, it's these data centers and the way that they are developed, the way that they exploit resources and use resources, it's done this is a very extractive way. However, that many folks, including folks on the left, and no shade to anyone that is online, I dip my toes into social media, but I personally try to just stay away from it as much as I can, except a few things.
Yeah,
those data centers facilitate social media. They facilitate our digital lives.
Yeah.
Right. So how can we use that as leverage in order to create a more equitable and just outcome? It's interesting. And I know you might not have all the answers, but I'm curious if, what would that more equitable and just arrangement look like?
Yeah.
How could we have these data establishments, but also not have them take up a bunch of water, lead to more automation of jobs, and
we haven't delved deeply into what exactly it looks like, but there's a lot of things that we can ask for. I was just these companies, for one, can pay for it themselves. That shouldn't cost any. If we are going to build a data center, it should be attached. They should be union jobs that it goes to. It should be, workers that are, in the communities that where they might be proposing this. It shouldn't be this hyperscale monstrosity that'll displace everybody around it. It should be at the size that it needs to be in order to serve the needs that it needs to serve. And also there should be hey, okay, if we're going to make this investment, then we should have renewable energy attached to it. Why aren't we, I don't want to see, and I know this might be a big thing, but I am not pro-nuclear. And I don't think that is, or hydrogen. I think we need to be looking at things that aren't going to cause more harm down the line.
Yeah, burying our nuclear waste it's not a permanent solution.
No.
Let alone just like yeah, they can miss me with like trying to make another Chernobyl
No.
happen. And I mean, so one thing I'm wondering apropos to that is you were on Mayor Wilson's transition team. I'm curious about what your thoughts are, kind of the good, bad, and the ugly, so to speak, about the progress that's being made, or some ways that maybe we can move the needle further, because it's almost been 100 days since she's been in office.
Yeah, I think it's past 100 days now. Yeah.
Oh yeah, just passed.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So yeah. What do you think?
What do I think?
Yeah.
One, I will say it was an honor to be asked to be on the transition team.
Absolutely.
Two, it was a very eye-opening experience behind just like the politics of that, and just like there are definitely elements of it where I'm just like, why are we doing all this work? Is it going to actually meet tangible needs of the community members in Seattle? Yes and no, probably. There's a lot.
Right.
There's a lot that we do, that we collect all this information and all this data, and it doesn't go anywhere. But I do have, after this, I haven't given up hope or faith that we can make progress in these next 4 years.
Absolutely.
I do think there is a learning curve for sure.
Oh, yeah.
And I want to have faith that we can meet that learning curve. And that's why, folks like me are going to hold city council and Mayor Wilson accountable.
Yeah.
Here's the things that we advocated for, and we want to see them get done. Especially with the focus on the stuff that we can get done sooner rather than later.
Absolutely.
And I do think we're on our way, but I also want to be caution against some things take time.
Right.
I hate to say it. Some things just take time, and we have to be okay with that.
That's a grim reality of governing. It's it takes time. It can be really complicated.
It can be really complicated.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to rush into something that we overlook the fact that oh shoot,
Right.
we just displaced this whole community.
Exactly.
That's not okay with me.
Oh, 5,000%. Yeah. I think a lot of folks might overlook that, especially when it comes to things that are very intimate, like housing or safety or things like that. And don't get me wrong, very much for reallocating resources and firing killer cops and defunding police and refunding community.
Yeah.
And also at the same time, it's okay, well, what are the safety measures we need to put in place, right? How can we make it so people feel, and not even just feel, but actually can thrive, in their communities, right?
Right.
And sometimes it's not the flashy decision, sometimes not the good decision, sometimes not the decision we'd like, So last but not least, because I know that you are in the sauce, I just want to kind of take a second as a person, because I know one of your favorite things is pink frosting donuts. So you've been to Voodoo Donuts. Yes. So what is one of your favorite Voodoo Donuts, or one of your favorite orders?
I like the Homer Simpson classic, just pink with sprinkles. I love anything with bacon on it. Come on.
Nice.
My doctor, if they watch this, I am trying to watch my cholesterol, so I don't order that one too much.
It's all right. It's all right. We're living in dark times, okay? It's the donut with a little bit of bacon on. I think it's allowed. It's just oh yeah. We started another war. Go ahead, man.
I'm going to eat the donut.
Yes. Yes.
Anything with cereal too. I will try it.
Yeah, bacon donut. I have to try again. Yeah, there we go. Yes, and then last but not least, so this is an amazing year for movies. What are your top 3 anticipated films? Curious.
You're gonna hate this, but I don't pay attention to the movies that are coming out.
What we have back to back? No. We are kind here at the Unmasked Agenda.
No, I deserve it.
Shame.
No.
Oh my goodness. It's okay. You know what? It's fine. We'll just have to. I don't know. I'll just have to bring back my movie reviews sometime because I tell you right now that the Oscars, like I am not envious for the like Oscar committee because it's a catch-22. There are no great choices for who to exclude because there are so many Oscar-worthy films coming out.
Yeah.
And these jobs better be in the United States and they better be unionized.
Jobs.
Or they better be union and in a place with free universal health care.
Yeah.
And look at you, Marvel Studios. Don't think that my love comes with that accountability. Anyway, with that, we are at time. Thank you so much for coming on. Appreciate you. And this has been the Unmasked Agenda, and I'll see you all out there tomorrow in the streets.
Yay!
Yeah.